السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين. آمين. والحمد لله رب العالمين.
You are muted, Brother Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. We are going to, inshallah, start. We are going to continue the story of Jesus in the Quran, and we studied somehow just an introduction and one verse. And now we will continue to study his life story in the Quran. This is now section 5 of the Quran, which is Ali Imran, and verse number 46. Now let's read the verse straight so that we will understand what is going on, inshallah. Let me get this one ready. This one ready. All right. So, وقفينا على آثارهم بعيسى ابن مريم مصدقا لما بين يديه من التوراة وآتيناه. Okay, let's stop there. So we want Jesus, the son of Mary, to follow in the footsteps of those earlier prophets. It is the usual case in the Quran. Every prophet follows the footsteps of those earlier prophets, and except the prophet Adam, he didn't have anybody to follow, but he was the beginning of the chain of the prophethood, carried on mainly through Noah. It was another really father of the human race. That is how the Quran describes. Now, it is usual. The prophet was the follower of the previous prophets, and immediately, almost next to him, John the Baptist and Jesus. So, ala atharihim, on the same way, or ala their footsteps, it means the way they were struggling to spread the message of God. He did the same thing. Of course, we all know that the previous messengers, previous to Muhammad, all the messengers were sent to their specific people. When the time came, the Prophet Muhammad was appointed to all nations. So Jesus was appointed to the children of Israel, and they were children of Israel were already following the tradition of Moses by following the book which was revealed to him. Everybody knows the Torah. So he was also given the message confirming what was available of the Torah. So musaddikan lima beyne yedeyhi, in their hand, available means it was already available in their hand. In front of them also, it means beyne yedeyhi, it has two meanings at the same time. In front of them or within their reach, it means really they can, between two hands means they can reach and have it. It was available for them. وَآتَيْنَاهُ الْإِنْجِيلَ فِيهِ هُدًى وَنُورٌ. So we gave him, Jesus, the Bible, which is called the Gospel. So it has guidance and enlightenment. Of course, if it was given to a prophet, it is not surprising that it is guidance and enlightenment for mankind, of course. So those people who use their intelligence and seek for the answer to their questions, human questions, there is a guidance there. Of course, not the guidance for our life on earth in order to take care of our body or our worldly affairs, but what we need. Guidance means what we need in order to make our life meaningful. And also, we need the answers to our human questions that we cannot get answered within this universe, or the universe doesn't provide, and human mind also doesn't provide, because the human questions require an answer which goes beyond the limitations of the universe. So we cannot really guess even such a thing, or imaginatively. We cannot really imagine that the answer will be sought after outside of the universe, because we have no experience of it, and it doesn't occur to us that outside of the universe I will look for a guidance. Enlightenment, of course, when we receive the answer from this guidance, we will be enlightened with all obscurities, unknown things, maybe at the end turns out to be meaningless for us. They become enlightened. It means we know what we are doing in this world. We know the purpose of our life in this world. We are comfortable about the answer now. So, then وَمُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, again confirming what was available of the Torah. So, whatever was available of the Torah, confirming it, not necessarily really repeating what Torah said, but by confirming it, it may explain further, or if there is deviations, because it was after 1,000, almost 500 years of Moses, the Jesus was sent. In between, there may be other prophets, the Arab prophets. It is not our concern, but after 1,500 years, somewhere around there, I'm speaking roughly, there may be some change, something, the living conditions definitely changes, not may change, but changes. And the concerns of the people may be really recentered on other subjects, on other matters. These are all understandable, and they need to be corrected if there is a deviation, or they need to be further explained as the conditions of their social life, personal life are required to get the answer. So it is interesting. من التوراة هدى وموعظة للمتقين. So it is interesting to say that, to read that from the Quran, the Torah has guidance and a lesson for those who are the God conscious. It means muttaqin. Yeah, it doesn't mean that the Torah is not corrupted or somehow it is short to answer to human questions, or maybe really turn it into some other forms of understanding out of the real central purpose of the teachings of the Torah. It happens every time, but the text also, although of course everyone, the followers of every religion claim that the text, their sacred text, revelation, is intact, not spoiled or corrupted. But at least the understanding of the text might have, but text is not the original language of the first available text is not the original language of Moses. It is just a revival of some other versions, maybe Greek versions. It is not our concern. Yes, definitely, we can find guidance and lesson. Definitely, we can find in Torah. It doesn't mean that it is totally corrupted. And it is the same, we can say the same argument in Jesus's narrations, but we have to see the difference. At least Torah, as far as the Jewish tradition is concerned, has been preserved as much as possible in its own original text. But unfortunately, it is not the case for the Bible. Although there are many manuscripts, quell or in French, quell manuscripts, they say, are known only to specific people, maybe in Vatican, Rome, Vatican libraries, but they are not in use publicly now. Only 4 gospel. The others are somehow kept away from the attentions of the people. It is an unfortunate, but that is the tradition they are following. Although it is the translation of Jesus's in Arabic, Ibrani language. What was it in English? Jesus' original language is similar to Hebrew. There is an English name for it. Ibrani. Okay, didn't come.
Is it Aramaic?
Sorry?
Aramaic?
Aramaic language, yes. But they are very close. Aramaic language, maybe I may be confusing. You may be right. That's Aramaic language, or there was another name for Ibrani. Is it correct that Arabic is the original Aramaic is really the translation of Ibrani? I wonder now. Okay, this is not the problem, but at least what we have now, Greek versions of them. It means, again, somehow, It is preserved, but at the same time, not the original text. Original text itself is the most important matter in this case. So people keep arguing about, this, the verse says, the Torah has guidance and lesson for those who are the God conscious. Is it available? The argument is going on, the debates are going on among the scholars. Does the verse mention that the already, let me see if anybody wrote anything. Yeah, thank you, Aramai. Thank you. So, the argument is debate is going on in this area. My mind was attracted by something else. Whether it was the Quran is in meaning, or Quran is really telling that the already available Torah during the life of the Prophet was meant here, or original message of the Torah was mentioned here. It means the Torah originally, as it was revealed to Moses. Now, my conviction is Quran is speaking to us. And if the Quran says, confirming what was available of the Torah, مصدقا لما بين يديه من التوراة هدى وموعظة للمتقين. It means speaking to the people of the time of the Prophet and following time. And the Torah, since it says it has guidance and a lesson for those who are God conscious, it must be the available Torah. If the Quran meant, that's my conviction, personal conviction after reading their arguments. If it was related to the Torah, the original form, it would be pointless because it's not available, so that I will say, there is guidance in it and there is a lesson in Torah, but it is not available. What is the point to saying this? It is the same thing as was said about the gospel, the Bible. It's that it has guidance and enlightenment. That is for the guide, for the Injil, the gospel. فيه هدى ونورا. الإنجيل فيه هدى ونورا مصدقا. Sorry, yeah, I'm mistaken. فيه هدى ونور مصدقا لما بين يديه. So during the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, whatever was available from the Bible and the Torah, the Quran says in the Bible, specifically slightly different, nurun ve huden ve nurun. But for Torah, huden ve ما يديه من التوراة هدى وموعظة للمتقين. It means hudan, guidance, and lesson. What is the detail of it? I don't really know why one of them is hudan wa nurun, why another is hudan wa maw'izatan. I don't really see, excuse me, yeah, I don't really see the significance of this different language. Anyway, it is not our subject. We have to understand that we should not be really so arrogant towards the followers of other, especially monotheist religions. They may be, they themselves may not be really following the message, the Torah and the gospel. They may just left it behind, etc. But look at the Muslim world, we have to be honest. How the Muslim world, the people who claim that they are Muslims, how much really better off than the Jews and Christians, especially than the Jews. I mean, they are very, very strictly following their religions as far as the requirements of their religion are concerned. But what is the difference? The text of the Quran is intact. But we should not confuse that. If you like, punctuations of the Quran, different variations of the reading the same word in the Quran, but differently. Like my English and original, the English of the people who speak original English from birth, their mother tongue. Of course, there is a difference. And also, not only a matter of dialect, but the way you punctuate it. For example, put comma or the dot or semicolon somewhere, etc. So you can change the meaning slightly by making the emphasis on some side of the verse rather than other side of the verse. That is possible. That is happening, and especially it happened during the first, second centuries of the Muslim life. They really argued about or debated about this matter. Let's read this word in this way or another way. The reason was the original text of the Quran has no punctuation, no dots, and as we call it now, shadda. For example, musaddiqan. There is a sign on it, but there is one letter, but it is pronounced as a sa, as if there are two letters of sad there. There were no signs like this, so you can read in various ways, but what is important that we have to be aware, the letters mim, sad, dal, qaf is original. But when it comes to te, the, be, which are dots on top of the letter, on bottom of the letter, 3 dots, 2 dots, etc., making the word different. It is not arbitrarily possible to read the Quran as you put the punctuations as you like, because it must be harmonious to the sentences or context of the Quran within that context. So usually those people who are expert on Arabic, Quranic Arabic language, they know how to read it. But sometimes it is possible to read this way or another way. That's why there are mainly 2 schools of Quran expertise, Kufa and Basra schools, they are called historically, they may have some various ways of pronouncing some words of the Quran, but original letters never ever change. So some Orientalists play on it, saying that, look, the Quran has not preserved its originality, etc., etc. Why? Because some people said musaddiqan, some people said musaddaqan. It is impossible to say musaddaqan here. But just I'm seeing the word here and making up an example. Yes, possible to read it as musaddaqan, but it is not really appropriate within the context of this verse. It doesn't make sense. So those people who are expert on it, but ultimately, after arguing the first century scholars, after the first century of Hijrah scholars, and the second went into the second centuries of the scholars, and then lately afterwards, at the end, there is a great scholar in Arabic grammar. It is the unreachable man in Arabic grammar. Zamakhshari finalized it, and both sides of the scholars agreed on it because they couldn't come up with a better option. So what we read it now from all different schools of Islamic tradition, Sunnite schools, all the variations of Sunnite school, and Shiite school, all the variations of Shiite school, now unanimously all of them have a consensus as the Quran is read and pronounced, with small exceptions. Some schools insisted on some things, but mainly not, mainly no. So they made the consensus, and we have the same Mus'haf, which means Mus'haf is not the Quran, but Quran's written form on a paper or something else, or nowadays on computers and our phones. So there, what is read there exactly accepted by all people, the Muslim people, with very few exception of the variations of the pronunciations. That doesn't make really much difference as far as the originality of the Quran is concerned, and especially the meaning of the Quran is concerned. This is a matter, especially, and not the Jews. Jews don't bother about it, but Christians are competing, saying that you say that the Bible is corrupt, but Quran is corrupt as well. Why? Not original. Somewhere you can find the disagreement among your scholars, etc. This claim is academically going on still, but there is no substantial argument at all. I mean, sometimes you understand that they don't understand the details of Arabic language when they make the oppositions or criticism. But those people who are expert on Arabic just laugh at them. And I don't know. We cannot go into details of the subject. What we have to do is here, we should not totally reject Christian tradition and Jewish tradition, and we should not really totally reject the Bible and Torah. But when it comes to the matter of Bible, the problem is it's more severe than Torah. Jewish people were really, really trying to preserve their originality of the text. They are very careful. We have to appreciate them, in fact. But Christian word, which is called Christendom, are stuck with four this canonical gospels, but they are not really what Jesus received. These are, four of them are life biography of Jesus, include some sayings of Jesus as he received, but not really what Jesus received. They tell like our Sirah books. Of course, in the Sirah books, you can see some verses narrated in it, but we cannot say that Sirah books are the Quran. But unfortunately, that is an unfortunate. I'm very sorry for the Christendom. Yeah, they are deprived of the original teachings of Jesus. They are beautiful. I haven't studied them. Only one of them I seriously studied. It was really great. You understand, one verse was ridiculous, only one out of 100 something verses in that version. Directly, what Jesus said as God's word. So they are great. But how about these four gospels? They give good advice, but not really those texts of narrations from Jesus. They are great. Not only good advice, they are great. I think we can say the Quran is referring those hidden from the gaze of the people gospels, not four canonical gospels, which is just a political maneuver or stratagem because of this Emperor Constantine declared this and imposed this on the council, the Christian council, to accept, to confirm this, because it emphasized, almost all of them, on the personality of Jesus rather than the teachings of God sent, revealed to Jesus. And then Jesus became in the center, and especially crucifixion dramatized so much that Jesus became a symbol of sufferings. He suffered for us. He suffered for us. All Christian missionaries keep telling, for us, for our sins. That is a theological debate, and we are not going into the Christian theological debate. So Agabe say, by principle, we say Quran is not bound to time, but the Quran is not bound to time. So we should understand, as you said, Arendt, what are you referring to? I don't know. We should understand, as you said, no, the Quran's message is not bound to time. Actually, if you ask the Jews, Torah's message is not bound to time as well, and the Christians claim the same. So, meaning, they don't say it is bound to time. Of course, they need to interpret it. Of course, we have to interpret it and understand the Quran again in a universal sense. But when we read the Quran as a source which declares universal message, we find that the Quran is really consistent within itself. Of course, we shouldn't read it historically. On the other hand, when you read the Torah and the Bible, somehow they are also they're really beyond time limitations, but not the consistency as we see, as much as we see in the Quran. But these are not the problems to me. These are not the main points to me. Main point, if we want to make the main point, how about the central message? Central message. Does it have its own consistency within itself or not? Torah lacks this. Everybody knows where it lacks, because it reduces the salvation to only one race, children of Israel. The others are slaves, that's it. Maybe I don't know whether they claim that the other people will be resurrected and sent to paradise. I doubt that. They just say they are our slaves. Slaves means not necessarily an insulting word. We have to be honest. The leaders, according to their understanding, God has chosen these people, particularly this race, in order to perfect the worldly life and the life of human beings. The others have to follow them. That is what slave means. And not necessarily that Lord and slave or master and slave relationship. No, you have to follow us. We have to lead the world, lead the world. In this sense, it is then a race which is saved. In Christianity, of course, the oneness in Judaism, we have to accept and we have to be honest that the creatorship of God's oneness is not corrupt. But the message sent to a race and declare the superiority of this race is not appropriate to God's justice. In Christianity, these are the very main points that we should keep in our mind. In Christianity, God's oneness is very much disturbed and really blurred up, if you like, confused. Although the Quran mentions a lot, because we will study in the life of Jesus about the nature of Jesus as being the Son of God, adopted God, etc. God, a man and divine at the same time. These kind of confusions or manifestation of God on earth as in the form of a created man. These are all problems, main problems. And also salvation is not really in the message of Jesus, but believing in Jesus, whatever it means, they cannot really explain it. Believe in Jesus, have faith in Jesus. What am I supposed to do? He suffered for you, you have to follow. But accept Jesus. Follow what? Where is the message? Where is the message? Really, there is no substantial message of Jesus presented to us in 4 canonical gospels, which are now available for the people, and all the Christians sections follow all of that. These 4 canonical gospels only. You don't know what to do. But whereas in the Quran, and also if you don't have faith in Jesus, for example, Muslims believe in Jesus as the prophet. They say, no, that's not enough. Give some sort of divine quality, whatever the form is, because there are many, many forms of theologies developed in Christian scholarship. But at least you have to accept some sort of divine quality in Jesus, especially attributing that Jesus's miracles are his own work. That is ridiculous, but we will study them. Now come to Quran. Quran says no race has superiority. Salvation is not only having faith in the Prophet Muhammad, but following the message, practicing it. Yeah, taking the example of the Prophet's practice, but really never, ever give any divine quality to the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him. So, no divine quality in the prophethood, messengership, and also there is no privileged people. And the uniqueness of God's oneness is preserved with no stain on it, mixture on it, or exceptional case on it. He is fully just, fully wise, fully knowledgeable, fully powerful, no exception. We call it in our discussions very frequently absolute qualities, all of them. So the creator of the universe is absolute in his essence as well. We don't really liken it to anything of this universe at all. We cannot describe it, but we can say absolute in order to express the undefinable essence of Godhead. So God, the creator, cannot be definable, but it must exist, and his existence is of the nature of absolute. In this case, Islam stands out unique in a unique position. There's no confusion whatsoever, no superiority to any nation, but we have to be very careful. When the Quran says you are the selected ummah, not the race, not certain group of people, but only those who are ummah. What does it mean, ummah? Following the teachings of the Quran with no confusion. This is the community. It means salvation is possible if someone follows the teachings of the Quran and takes the example from the life of the Prophet. That is why we should be very careful saying that, you are the chosen people, like chosen ummah. Ummah is not a race. Ummah is not a particular group of people. Ummah represents only the one who is called Ummati Muhammad or Ummatu Muhammad. What does it mean? The one who follows the message of Muhammad. The message of Muhammad. As much as you follow the message of Muhammad, you are saved. Yes, that is what Islam says. Message of Muhammad is what? The Quran. mainly. I mean, his personal life is exemplary life is different, but his exemplary life is life also depends on the message. It means he is practicing the message. That is why we are learning the practical side of the message, not the message originator of the message. Prophet Muhammad is not the originator of the message. Just putting the message of God into practical life. We have to be very clear about it and don't brag about the superiority of Muslim Ummah, something like that. No, you are better if only you follow God's message directly. This God's message confirms, when we study the Quran, Quran uses the same thing, confirms what is available in your hands, speaking to the people of the book. So the same thing, like Torah confirms the previous messages of the prophets, Bible, the gospel, confirms the previous messages of the prophets, Quran confirms the previous to it itself, the messages of the, but what is the confirmation? Essence of the teaching is coming from God, accepting belief in God and the next creation, resurrection, hereafter, the main message. They are united there, all the people of the book. That's why Quran says, come to the common word between yourself or the people of the book. These common words are the main message of all Torah, Bible, and the Quran. So in this case, we should not be really arrogant against the followers of the tradition of the people of the book. We have to be respectful, but at the same time, we should be following the message of the Quran and understanding how consistent it is within itself and benefiting from it, and it doesn't contradict human mind, human experience of the universe. So feel fully convinced and practice it in your life, and then you will find peace in your life because there will be no contradiction. Nothing contradicts your human expectations. When we understand this, nothing contradicts in the universe what is going on and what the Quran says. Let me complete what Agabe says. Besides that, time to time you refer Musaf and Quran as different things. Can we apply for Torah here as well? Torah is message, but original. Now the Quran is the Quran. Musaf is the written form. So you can say, as equivalent to Quran, you can say original recitation of Torah, not the written book of Torah. If you mean by written book of Torah, it is the Musaf of Torah. It means Musaf means Sahifa, pages. The put or compiled in pages. So compiled in pages, there are Torah books, Bible books. But the original, if you like, voice of the Quran, vocal voice of the Quran, is what exactly God revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, and also voice of the Torah and Bible, not the for gospel, canonical gospels, but what Jesus really delivered the message to people. These are original forms of revelations. Some of them are preserved, some of them are not preserved. when it comes to the Quran, original form of the Quran is preserved and written in pages, compilation of pages. I hope I am clear here. Afshan Haq says, is the idea of salvation of one race in the Torah? Look, I must be honest, whether they accept in general the people, other people, apart from the children of Israel, are saved or not, because the ambiguity comes from here. Jewish tradition does not emphasize on the belief of resurrection or in the belief of resurrection. Some of them say, there may be, some of them say the children of Israel will be resurrected. Some of them say, no, all human beings will be resurrected, but those people who follow and appreciate the value of the children of Israel, they will be rewarded. Or those people who oppose it, they will be punished. All this ambiguity there. It is not as clear as it is in the Quran. That is why you hear many voices among Jewish scholars, rabbis. Some of them interpret this way, some of them interpret that way. They are not very clear. So am I not very clear about this? In order to give you the idea or tell anything, I should be honest. I'm not clear either what their main focus is. For example, Christianity is somehow clear. If you have faith in Jesus, you are saved, whatever you do. That is clear in that sense. Quran is obviously clear cut. As much as you confirmed your reality and accepted that you are created, your existence belongs to one God, you are sooner or later in paradise. That is how long, etc., is disputed, but sooner or later in paradise. Because if you believe in one God, disbelief is not going to be denied by God, and it is going to be preserved. This is the core of your life. But all the extension of disbelief or practices of disbelief within your life is your human quality. According to your degree of belief and the practice of it, you will be rewarded. If somebody denies it, he will be punished, but everybody will be resurrected. That is so clear-cut in the Quran. No one will not be left alone without being resurrected in grave only. No, spirit is somehow permanent, created permanently. Again, if the Torah is preserved, no, the Torah cannot claim that it has been preserved. Now, why? There is no original language of Moses. He spoke to people, preserved. But they are trying to preserve it. Then at least there was upon a time that for 300 years or something, Torah was completely out of sight. Then they started discovering the Greek version of the Torah or some Hebrew version of the Torah. They are translating it. Ultimately, the Muslim scholars claim that there is no original language of Moses preserved, but the translation is, and Jewish scholars said, although it is translation, still they are very consistent translation, very loyal translation, because they have a great chain of scholarship about Torah studies. We have to admit it, but they cannot compete with the commentaries on the Quran made by the Muslim scholars. But still, really very heavy tradition is practiced among the Jewish rabbinic traditions. It means scholars, they try to preserve the comments of the earlier generation. They have various compilations of these commentaries on Torah. In this sense, after certain centuries, they were very careful to preserve the Torah. Not the original form, it is not there. For example, like the Quran. Everywhere you go, you find the original form of Quran recited by the students or followers of the Quran. That's why, okay, there be definite, how can there be a defect in it? No, that is why not the preserved. Preserved as much as possible, maybe the first translations available of the original Torah. That is what I know, but some people say, some Jewish people say, but even it is in another language, but really it is almost the original form. That's what they say. How can there be a defect? And ambiguity on resurrection, or ambiguity on resurrection, how they understand. Because, for example, you know, more or less, I studied a little bit this available Torah, at this 6 books. Really, you cannot find very clear declaration of resurrection and what it means really. But the Quran is full of clear declaration of resurrection and explains what it means for paradise, for hell, all the descriptions. Agabe may say, maybe it is another topic, but interpretation is important as well. Yes, of course, maybe you can kill Musa, but you can kill message. You cannot kill Musa, but you cannot kill message in it by wrong interpretation. That is something, but interpretation is personal, isn't it? It's nothing to do with the Quran, really, or with the text of the Quran. This is the personal, the translations, for example. Whose translation is it? Is for example, Muhammad, not the Muhammad, let's not confuse, Said's translation, or I don't know, Muaz's translation, give a name, or some really famous Orientalists also have translations, okay, which is quite a good one. And a person named Dawood and Sales, and also Arbery. Arbery is a great alim, great scholar. So, but Orientalist, great scholar. With his scholar in investigating, but with a good intention, bad intention, that is something else. But really, he is expert in his way of studying the Quran. So, for example, Arbery's translation, Sel's translation, Dawood's translation, they are Orientalists, they are not Muslims. That is Arbery's translation. It's not God's word. Arbery's translation of the Quran, or commentary of certain commentators, tafsir books. They are just personal convictions, ideas, nothing to do with the Quran. So interpretations may mislead people, but cannot corrupt Quran. Because when we say the Quran, original form of the Quran is preserved. All right. But this preservation is possible only through two ways. One is memorization. The other one is written form of the Quran in Mus'haf form. Okay. Today, we just stayed in this verse because of this common problem among the Muslim Ummah as well, that we have to be very careful in our relationship with the people of books. We shouldn't go into extremes, but at the same time, we shouldn't be so much relaxed that, they are also like the followers of the Quran. I'm not saying like the Muslims. Be careful. Followers of the Quran, it means really Quranic teaching. They are not the same. Definitely, they have other weak points in their belief, in their practices. They are, especially Jewish people are, practicing Jewish people are, in their practices, don't misunderstand me, in their practices, they are as good as Muslims. Maybe in some cases, they excel. They study heavily the Torah. Our Muslim population, general population, don't study the Quran. They found it easy to read in some study circles, hadith narrations. They don't really dare how to study the Quran because they have to be somehow qualified. Not many, but among Jews, more than the Muslims have. But great scholars, the number of great scholars in Islamic tradition, of course, definitely outnumbers the great scholars of Jews. But it doesn't mean that the competition, that's our reality. We have to accept it. We have to accept that they are not really, some people should go to hell straight away, etc. Quran is very relaxed as we see it here. But if someone distorts the text in their interpretation, which usually Quran gives this example on the Jewish people, children of Israel. That's why we think the Jewish people are only those who really misinterpret their books. I mean, in some cases, yes. But competing with the Quran, yes. But at the same time, as far as following the Torah is concerned, they are really as serious as Muslims are, at least. But following of the Jesus, the Christendom, I cannot say this. Unfortunately, I cannot say this because the Christian people don't entertain the pleasure of studying the message of Jesus. They study the message of really St. Paul, which has the person was a very hardworking man, very successful man in his spreading the message of Jesus mixed with his own interpretations. So Pauline religion is the religion of Christendom. Although they call them Christendom, I would call them Pauline people. Why? Because this four canonical the Bible, Gospel, is full of Paul's ideas. This divine quality of Jesus sacrifice or crucifixion of Jesus story and having faith in Jesus is enough, this propaganda, of course, spread around. Early Christianity didn't have this, but when the Pauline understanding of Jesus's message officially confirmed in 300 something 25, I think, Christian era 325 by Constantine, and then this corruption started taking place heavily. I'm very sorry for Christian people that they are deprived of Jesus's real teaching because of this tradition. What are we going to do? Take lesson from it. We should not do the same thing. Yeah? Reduce the understanding of the Quran to only one scholar and replacing this scholar's ideas with Quran's teaching. At least we have to bear in mind that this is a man understood from the Quran, good or bad. Some of them definitely better than the others, some of them not better, not so. But we have to follow the best scholar who follows the Quran. But how are we going to understand it? The more we study, the more we become selective. That is why without studying the Quran seriously, we cannot talk really about it because our connection with the Quran is so loose. We have to really establish a serious connection with the Quran. Thank you very much. And time is up. I have not noticed that. Okay. So if you have anything to say, please. Otherwise, I will stop here, inshallah.
I want to ask something, Ali abi.
Quite quickly here.
Yeah, like as we said, the Quran is preserved, but no one can say is like when he reads Quran and because he has to interpret, then he cannot say it is the what Quran says. He has to say, this is my interpretation.
That is I'm sorry, Akabe, but it is a full confusion. We kept saying all the way to today's class that Quran is Quran, interpretation is a personal idea. Interpretation has to be personal. There is no other way. But original of the Quran, original text of the Quran is preserved and written down as a mushaf form. And recitation is going on among the Muslim community, all generations from the very beginning until now, full of the many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have memorized the Quran. This is preserved, but interpretation it has to be personal and limited. There is no way, that is impossible to avoid this. No one can claim that I fully understand the Quran as God revealed. Impossible, because Quran is coming from a manifestation of the absolute knowledge of God. No one can reach absolute. That
yes, but
not
necessarily fully. But let's say you understand one thing. Technically, no one can say this is what Quran says. This is what I understood, right?
Confusion, Akabe. Quran is different from one's idea that this is what Quran says. It is inevitable. That is human. That is human, Akabe. I have to say, I read it, and this is my idea. What I understood. But you say, you read it, that is your understanding. Unique to you, my understanding is for me alone. So that is different. That is, we are created. But the Quran is the manifestation of the absolute name of God's knowledgeable. God is the all-knowing one. It is
When you
for example,
when you present your understanding, technically you cannot say that's what Quran says, right? That's my question.
oh, that is obvious. That to say what I understood from the Quran, we can say what I understood from the Quran. But there are, if you like, there are as many as those scholars who studied the Quran. How many of them? Thousands of them. There are that many understandings of the Quran demonstrated by the scholars was possible. But that means Quran's knowledge cannot be limited. That is why absoluteness comes there. But human knowledge, we are created beings. We have to try to understand as much as possible. But original text is preserved. When I say I understood from the Quran this, I refer to the text, same text. When you say you understood from the Quran this, you refer to the same text, but you articulate your understanding. I articulate my understanding. Let's be clear there. So no one can claim that and claimed as well historically. This is what Quran means, and that's it. No other option. No, they said this is what I understood from the Quran, and that is my idea. Take it or leave it. That is
because in practical life, I do also, and many people do this. They say this is what Quran says. Like it really misstates.
Talk about other people, Agabe. What we shouldn't say it. That is what I understood from the Quran. But in daily language, we say Quran says this, Quran says this. But you are hearing me. You are not hearing God. You are hearing my language, not the Quran. But when I recite the Quran, you are reading, you are hearing the Quran. When I say it means this, you are hearing me. That is not the Quran. That's obvious and simple as well. I mean, no way to confuse to me. Simple, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi hurmati